Hello and welcome to History 4070, Slavery in the Americas for the fall 2026 semester. I'm the professor for the class. My name is Dr. James McDonald. And what we're going to do in this short video introduction is talk a little bit about the course expectations, look at the Moodle shell, look at the syllabus, and kind of give you an orientation, the kind that you would get if this was a face-to-face class. This is an internet class, and we have quite a few things to cover. So you'll see the heading for the class here, a fabled poster, which was hoping to gain support for the abolition movement in the decades before the American Civil War. But this class takes a more broader Atlantic version of slavery. So we'll talk about slavery in the Americas, plural, so that applies to the future United States, the Caribbean, and areas of the South American continent as well. So very quickly, most of the information that you need can be found in this first block of Moodle, which includes the syllabus. The texts are going to be through your shelf that you have, and you get an email about that. And they're going to be electronic texts. There's two of them. The discussion rubric we'll talk about in a minute. That's kind of one of the required elements of the class. And right now I'll take the opportunity to pull up the actual syllabus. My information is here. I am in Kaiser Hall. I have class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11, but I have student hours, meaning it's when you can usually get the fastest response from me, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 11 before that face-to-face class. So you can come by Kaiser Hall before class on those days, or you can just probably email me, and that's what most of you I think will choose to do. My email is there, just spell it correctly. It's M-A-C, it's MacDonald, J as in James. And what I'm going to ask you to do is write your class, for you, just your class, 4070 slavery class. I want you to identify who you are in the email, either in the subject line or in the body of the email. I'm going to run between 7 and 8 different classes this semester. So I don't know who everyone is and in what section. So if you have a specific question that you have, the best way to get that question answered is to put the information in your email. I would apply that rule to all of your other classes. This is one I very much stick to when it comes to those introductory classes where some professors have like 3 or 4 sections. So it's just going to help you out and will help them out as well. And he or she will be very appreciative of that. So this class discusses the institution of Atlantic slavery, and it operated for several hundred years, both in Africa, in the Americas. The Atlantic slave trade, 10 to 12 million people were forcibly moved from West Africa to the Americas. We think almost as many, if not more, were moved out of Central and Eastern Africa into southern areas of the Middle East and other parts of the world. So it's a study that we are becoming more and more familiar with, and it was a business. It was a human trafficking, obviously. I wish I could tell you that slavery was over in the world, but it is not. In fact, there may be more people enslaved today than at the height of pre-Civil War, American Civil War slavery. So it's a subject that is tragic and is fascinating, and at the end of the day was part of a business equation. And those decisions about human beings and making them cogs in a wheel and dehumanizing them was part of that business. But it happened, and it is a story that we need to be familiar with. It's an element of our world history and human history and the history of the United States. A small portion of those slaves actually went to what's now the future United States. And you might be surprised to learn, well, slavery was such an integral part of the creation of our country, and it lasted after the creation of the United States, for another 90 odd years. But slavery operated differently depending on what part of the world you were talking about. And so that's one of the nuances and characteristics of it that you're going to become familiar with, and how, after 400 or so years of the Atlantic slave trade, it finally came to an end. It came to an end in the United States, and then it didn't mean it was at an end in the rest of the Americas. It went on much longer. So it's a story that we are going to, sweeping story that we're going to cover in the course of this semester. I want to show you a little bit about the syllabus and go into some detail about the books. You have two, and again, they're through your e-book selection that you'll get an email about. But I'm pretty sure I may have a slide about the books to make you a little bit more familiar about those titles. Now, they may look a little different. I think I put these as slides here. Okay, so the book on the left is going to be our main textbook, and that is David Bryan Davis is the professor's name. Now, this man spent a career researching Atlantic slavery. He's an expert in this. But what he did with this book is he took the story of slavery in the New World. So it's going to apply to the Americas after the discovery. It wasn't new, of course, to the people who lived there, the indigenous or Native American populations. But he approaches this as a series of like mini lectures on different topics of slavery. And I think you'll find it very interesting and very, more importantly, readable. You know, it's not a dry book that's going to put you to sleep every time you pick it up. And so we'll be reading most, not every chapter of it, so pay attention to the syllabus. The book on the right, now you may get a different edition. This is a Signet Classic version that was done not long ago. But typically they're published 4 or 5 different narratives. And we're going to read 2 out of the 4 of the book on the right. We're going to read Equiano's narrative. Gustavus Vasa was his name when he was captured in West Africa. It's a fascinating story that the more we research, the more we find out that some of this may have happened to him and some of it might not have happened to him. But he wrote what was a very amazing narrative that really got into the detail of what's called the Middle Passage, where Africans were once captured in the interior, brought to the coastline, and then got on, as if that wasn't terrible enough, the terrifying ride from the west coast of Africa somewhere to the Americas. For the most part, that would be to the Caribbean, the West Indies, it was called at the time, the islands, south of Florida there. And just as many would go to South America to work in what's now Brazil in areas of sugarcane refining and also silver mines. So the second is a very famous from an American point of view. We're going to read Frederick Douglass's narrative. Douglass was a Maryland slave, black mother, white father, which was not unusual in American slavery. He escaped and became a leader in the cause of abolition for the immediate ending of slavery before the Civil War, which finally did end slavery. So those are your books. We're reading most of Inhuman Bondage and 2 of the 4 narratives in the classic slave narratives. All right, so let's go back to the syllabus. If I can get that to come back up. There we go. Okay, so we discussed the readings. We're going to get into the details of the grading. You're going to have discussions that will be based on the readings, that will be based on supplementary lectures that I put up. If there are areas that I think the book should cover better or I want covered, I will create and have created my own lectures. I've also posted lectures of other individuals who are very well spoken and well versed on slavery. Dr. Girard, for example, down at McNeese, recorded a bunch of lectures during COVID and posted them for his classes from his home, literally. And 2 very effective ones were on Atlantic slavery and the Middle Passage. So you see that under the lectures area. We're also going to have two papers on each of the slave narratives. So these are primary sources, meaning they relate to people who lived at the time. In addition to that, there's going to be 3 exams total. Those exams will be given online. There will be multiple choice questions based on the reading and based on the lectures. Now, this is a vigorous class. It's a 4,000 level class, and yeah, it's a little bit demanding. But we don't get you out of this class uh, because it's easy and it applies obviously to the history major and to other concentrations that we have since offered within NSU, which is a great opportunity for folks to take advantage of this class. So we have 2 exams and a final, 2 100-point papers, and the criteria, and it's not going to be like a book review kind of thing. I'm going to be very specific about what questions I want you to answer, and I'll post those questions ahead of you writing the paper. And then the in-class assignments I'm just referring to during the course of the semester, you're going to have those discussions, and they're all worth 25 points, and you just go to Moodle to answer them. The syllabus statement that you usually find is in Moodle, so that's a PDF document. You can look at that for any information or links or resources that you will need. And this semester, we're kind of leaving it out of the syllabus. So my syllabus is really straightforward, right? We've got kind of the description of the class, how the grading works, and then the class schedule, more or less. You can see that you're reading selections of the Davis book. The prologue means it's the introduction. It's a good way to get you started on the guy's tone of voice and also his writing and what he hopes to do and to accomplish in writing that book. And then you've got chapters to read. You can see that all of the different assignments are there, and you go to complete the assignments in Moodle. Then we get going on the Equiano narrative. So I've kind of placed that in there so you can keep up with the reading and you don't do it all at once. Because the paper is going to be due towards the end of October, mixed in with your exams. So that's very straightforward, and that's the whole semester kind of laid out. And then we'll go to Moodle and get that to come up. There we go. Okay. So week 1, you've got your assignment, and week 2, you've got your next assignment, which you need to do. Africa 1400 is a lecture I wanted to put up there, give you a little background on the continent of Africa at the time of contact with Europe and how it changed the world when these two different societies and groups of people, different races, met each other and what happened afterwards. There's a PowerPoint that goes with it, but you'll have most of those slides in the actual lecture itself. The first discussion you can see right here. You complete it. The reading listening guide, I'll post there. That's kind of the major things you need to think about as we go towards each exam. Also up here is what I call, wonder what this block is. This is pop-up Dr. McDonald. This is kind of a reminder that what you need to do in the week. And so you can click on it. It's a very short video. It's just a friendly reminder. Unfortunately, you have to see me, but it's not too bad and it's not too long. Kind of blurry, but that's kind of the camera I've got with my computer. So you'll see that every few weeks. Just a friendly reminder with your friendly neighborhood professor there. So every week, we're not going to open every week all at once. We're going to open week by week, and you can see all of the work that you need to do. Very straightforward, laid out very easily. There's the first exam. It will be timed from Thursday to Sunday. Very straightforward, 25 multiple choice questions from the reading and from the lectures. So make sure you keep up with everything. It's straightforward. You will do well if you do the work, and you will learn a lot as well. This is a class with a lot of content. It is challenging, but you all signed up for it, made a choice to do that, and so I think you're all up for it. And if you have any questions, concerns, or problems, or need any more explanation with the actual content of the class, please don't hesitate to contact me. Have a great fall semester.